A very good evening to everyone. I'm Vidhi Agarwal from the batch of 2024 of Scmc, and I'll be your host for this live interaction. Thank you so much for joining in. Scmc is one of India's premier Bachelor of Mass Communication institutes, providing specialization in journalism, audiovisual production, advertising, and public relations. Today, we are here with some amazing and talented journalism students from the batch of 2022 to share with us their media journey and experience at SCMC. We have with us Rishab, Vijay, Somalika, and Hannah from the batch of 2022. A very hearty welcome to all of you.
Thank you, Vidhi. That was a wonderful welcome. Thank you for having us here.
Before we begin with this live interaction, why don't we go around the screen and everyone can introduce themselves one by one. Rishab, can we start with you?
Okay, sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Rishab from the Batch 22 journalism stream. I'm really excited to be here. First of all, a huge thanks to Vidhi and Shruti for inviting me for this. I don't know how useful my gyan is going to be, but if it's useful for juniors and aspiring SCMC students, then why not? So a little about me. I am currently based in Chennai, and I'm interning for the Quint at the moment. My area of interest in the field of journalism lies in entertainment, particularly music. And that's what I hope to get into full time in the future. And otherwise, yeah, in SCMC, I was the head of the music club, and I was involved in a lot of music related extracurricular stuff. So as you can see, that's where my interest lies. Yeah, I think that's all from me. We can move on.
Thank you so much, Rishab, for that. Vijay, can we have you next?
Hi, I'm Vijay Haradek, and okay, I thank Shruti and Vidhi for inviting me. It was like something out of the blue. I didn't expect this, that I would be called upon to share my experiences with people. It was like just 3 years at college where everything just went by. So yeah, my expertise, my interest in journalism lie in the areas of public policy and research. And I have been the content head for batch 2022 for ITS, and it has a lot of memories for me. Interviewing batch 2020 sport head was the most memorable experience as a content head. Yeah, and a bit about me, and I am currently based in Hyderabad. I just completed my internship with Prototypes in Goa, and I'm looking for jobs in the research space as we speak right now. So yeah, and I hope everyone listening to this conversation takes something from it.
Thank you so much, Vijay. Let's have Somalika next.
Okay, so hi, I'm Somalika. I was fortunately the class representative of the journalism batch of 2022, which led me to play a very active role into journalism. And I think the whole learning experience, along with the people that I have met in SCMC, has made the experience what it is today, which is a very nice experience. And it gives me immense happiness that I'm here unofficially as an alumni to get more people into this college. And I hope most of them do choose journalism because it has great aspects, great dimensions. And my particular interest is in media law. And I am currently studying and preparing for higher education in the same. Other than that, I have been staying with my grandparents, reflecting back at whatever I have learned so far and how I want to take my career further.
That's really nice, Somalika. Thank you so much. Can we have Hannah?
Hi, Vidhi. Hi, everyone watching. My name is Hannah Sarso John, and I was part of the journalism batch in 2022. Before that at SCMC, I've also been the internship and placement coordinator for 2 years. And then later as also class rep and as part of the further studies and career guidance team later. My main area of expertise or hopefully area of expertise in the future, is public policy and social exclusion and to study subaltern cultures. It's mainly an area centered in research. And I'm currently doing my master's in public policy from NLSIU Bangalore. So yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm really excited about this conversation because journalism as a specialization has kind of mushroomed into a lot of different things, apart from just say traditional journalism. And this is like a good platform for people listening to know that. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Hannah, and congratulations on getting into NLSIU. I would like to put this question across the panel. Like, when and how did you find out that you are interested in journalism and decided to study media and communication at SCMC? Can we have Rishab answer that question for us?
Okay, so first of all, am I going to be answering every question first? If so, bad deal for me. But okay, I'll go ahead. So when did I first get interested in journalism? So I'd say when I was in my early teens, I gave up on every engineering dream that I had since childhood, and I realized that something that I was actually good at was writing. And around that time, that was when I had the idea in my mind that I wanted to become an author, because I was like writing fiction all the time. But slowly, as I grew up and became more socially aware, journalism started to seem more, it started to make a little more sense to me, because it seemed like something where I could actually make a difference and where I could tell stories about things in real life that really matter to me. So yeah, that was how the interest in journalism came up. And of course, the fact that I had interest in writing played a huge part in that as well. Uh, and then SCMC, to put it very frankly, the moment I said that I'm interested in journalism, everyone around me, like every parent, like my parents, every relative, every teacher was immediately like symbiosis, symbiosis, symbiosis. So yeah, I think that is a similar experience for a lot of my peers. As soon as they mention the word journalism or media studies, it's immediately symbiosis. So I did apply for quite a few places, but symbiosis, like SCMC, was always at the top of my agenda. Uh, Mostly because after watching, the videos, I was also quite interested in AV. I should mention that as well. So after watching all the SCMC videos online and on the YouTube channel, seeing all the fun stuff that AV kids do and everything, that's kind of what appealed to me a little more about SCMC. Ironically, I did end up choosing journalism and not AV. So that's an interesting plot twist that happened there. But yeah, that's my story, I
Thank you,
guess.
Rishab. I think I can relate with you when you say that media studies and SCMC go together. So yes. Vijay, can we have you answer that question for us?
Okay, my journey has been kind of an interesting journey. So I had an interest in social sciences from school. So civics and history were my favorite subjects, and my teacher in school encouraged my interest in that. So as to have these lively debates with her, so just kept me going. At the same time, I also discovered my love for writing, and I knew that this is where my interest lies in. But I was surrounded among in a family of engineers, so like paternal, maternal, everyone was an engineer. So like I also jumped in and took MPC and went into engineering. A couple of years in engineering, I realized that engineering was not meant for me. So I decided to drop out of engineering. And after I dropped out, I did a thorough research, like what are the best media colleges in the country. And then I applied to quite a few colleges. And then I got into SCMC. And at the 3 year at SCMC were the best. Like they helped me, they vindicated my decision that I was a good fit for journalism, and it combined all my interests because here I could talk about history, civics, politics, all these topics which interested me. So I found a place where I felt at ease, which I completely not the case when I was doing engineering. So SCMC has been a place where I found myself.
Thank you so much, Vijay. Somalika, can we have your answer?
I think my story is similar to Rishab. I was into writing, although it was more like prose, poems in fifth, sixth, and seventh. And then in eighth grade, I started doing Model United Nations. So I started studying, reading more, writing more papers. And that's when it was decided I'm doing journalism. My family accepted it with open hearts. And similarly, when you say journalism, and if you mention India, Symbiosis Center for Media and Communication is the name on everyone's tongue. And actually, I did my own research, and it was still Symbiosis Center for Media and Communication. So personally, and family and friends, everybody led me to Symbiosis Center for Media and Communication. And it was the only college I applied to. So I just did go with it. Yeah.
Thank you, Somalika. Hannah, can we have you answer that for us?
Right. So my journey to SCMC was a little different. I wanted to go into advertising and PR. And then somewhere through the middle of the turn, I did a complete left turn and went the opposing direction. I still, of course, I did an internship for MSL, and I realized that my journalism, or at that point, media communication education, had kind of done way more for me than it did for any of my other interns from different universities. And that's when I truly realized that SCMC's journalism and other programs, of course, truly added value to all of like the skills that you need as a media professional.
That's really nice, Hannah. What was your journey in SCMC like as a journalism student? Since Rishab has already gone first a few times, let's start with Vijay.
Okay. My 3 years, I think I'll cherish these 3 years at SCMC because it provided me with the skill set which I need to be a good journalist as well as a good. So, like a lot of people had in our batch as we grew over 3 years, a lot of people as I interacted with them the first year, many people were skeptical about journalism and many people showed interest in that. But for speaking personally, from day one, I knew I wanted to be into journalism. So like in first year, we had Amitabh sir teaching us the basics of it, and Vidya Bhushan sir teaching political science. They caught my interest from day one. So as we progressed and I learned and I did my internships, I felt more at ease and comfortable doing online journalism and research. So as we went ahead, like but even I was confused. I wanted to journalism, but I was confused about the various streams in journalism when I actually came into college, like whether it was broadcast, like normally from outside where people entering, you see normally print and broadcast are the things was dominate the media stream. So normally for a layman, you normally think that print and broadcast are the only streams available and online is just coming up. So as I progressed through my 3 years, I realized that there are other niches available within journalism, and you can also go for other streams through journalism. So that is where I found my love for public policy in second year. So since my internship with Center for Human Security Studies provided through college, I found my niche. So since then I've been on the track for research and policy.
That's really nice, Vijay. So Malika, can we have you answer that for us? What is your journey?
Sure, Vidhi. Thank you. The question, but as Vijay said, he gave a lot into the technical details of the journey of journalism. But as a journalism student in general, I think life hasn't been at ease, at least for the last 8 months as we entered as journalism students into the college. And we had this rigorous curriculum, absolutely, but we had our practicals. Even the assignments as such required a lot of practical expertise. So I think that's how the journey has been, quite rigorous.
Okay, thank you, Somalika. Hannah, can you answer that for us?
Sure. I will second that. The journey at SCMC is rigor. It's purely rigor. And that in many ways is a good thing, mainly because it kind of pushes you to an extent where you would be prepared for anything. And I know you'd hear a lot of professors saying that over your 3 years, and you don't really believe them until, of course, you graduate and then go into another program, and hopefully nothing phases you as much as it does other people. The kind of academic rigor is also accompanied by practical rigor. And as a media student, that's very, very important to get some kind of working experience. So most people who graduate from SCMC will end up having at least 1.5 years of work ex, if not more. And that in a lot of ways will prepare you for the industry, but also like definitely makes your journey at SCMC way more interesting. From failed internships to like really, really tense moments where you're just about going to sign that deadline in. The academics, and the reason I'm focusing so much on that, forms the majority of what life is at SCMC. So that, yeah, it was my journey.
Vidhi, I'm so sorry to cut in between, but I must say our journey as a journalism student, I hope everyone agrees, has also been very enriched by our faculty. They have stirred and also successfully motivated us to go through all of this. And it's a lot if you can think about it, with the events and everything. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I truly believe that Amitabh sir has played a very major role in your entire 3 years. And Rishab, can you please answer that for us? Like, how has journalism been for you at STMC?
Sure. So journalism, if you're talking about me, then as I mentioned earlier, I was also very interested in AV. So in my first year, I was conflicted as to, I mean, well into my second year, actually, to be honest. I was very conflicted as to which I want to choose, because I was always into performing arts in school. So AV did seem to be, a viable option for me, because if I was in front of the camera, maybe I could be behind the camera or in front of the camera again. Also, there were a lot of options for me there. But then I realized that the whole art of filmmaking, the science of filmmaking, is not something that I personally, not something that I feel that I would be capable of, because most people who go into that field have been dead set on their minds, for a very long time, that filmmaking is what I want to do. So that's why I kind of deviated from that, and journalism seemed like a much more viable option, because, as I mentioned earlier, writing was a huge part of my adolescent life, and I was increasingly becoming more socially aware and expanding my general knowledge as I grew older. And one thing I would want to mention is that being a journalism student in SCMC, for me at least, there was a lot of imposter syndrome involved, because I was surrounded by people who had much better, knowledge of general knowledge than I did. They had arguably better writing skills than I did, and they had better. They were just more socially aware, and they seemed more mature in that sense. So imposter syndrome, that was definitely there. But then I did realize after a certain point that everyone is learning at the same time, right? There's no absolutes for anyone at any given point of time. Everyone is also on a similar journey, and everyone learns at their own pace, and that's okay. That's nothing for anyone to feel inferior about. No reason for people to feel inferior of themselves. And yeah, I understood that writing and journalism and reporting was something that I really enjoyed doing. And more importantly, I kind of expanded my interests as well, because I realized that I can't, it doesn't make sense for me to just go behind this one goal that I have of music and entertainment. I need to expand my horizons a little bit, and I need to be able to write about anything and everything on the sun, because at the end of the day, that's a very necessary facet of a good journalist. I mean, some people might disagree, but that's what I believe. And yeah, I've learned to think like a journalist, if that makes sense. Doing work, doing assignments, doing things like the SCMC Chronicle work those have given me a much better news sense. Like in the sense, I'm no longer just gravitated to topics that are only of interest to me. I see news stories in pretty much everything around me now, and yeah, the world is enigmatic when you look at that way. Uh, Everything's interesting. Everything can be a story. That's my final point.
Thank you so much, Rishab. Since you mentioned the SCMC Chronicle, I would like to ask you guys, like, what were some of the hands-on learning opportunities you received throughout the course? Somalika, can you answer that for
Yeah,
us?
Somalika is the perfect person to go
Yes.
first for this question. SCMC
Um,
Chronicle means Somalika at the forefront.
Yeah, I completely agree with Rishab on this.
So
Thank you, guys. Thank you. But yeah, sure. So the hands-on learning has been quite diverse and dynamic in this course. I would say, first of all, I hope all of you agree, we learned Excel. Out of all the beginning thing we learned was Excel and codes of Excel. We learned how to make graphs, a lot into the figures that go into news. We didn't even realize how important that was, but that was playing with data quite literally. And when we started with the Chronicle, we also learned InDesign. And quite literally, we made the Chronicle. We wrote, we edited, and we put it into a beautiful format. And everyone in journalism has worked on InDesign, hopefully at least once. I can say for all these people present here, they have worked in pages. Everybody has struggled. We have learned. And that's the thing about learning. I don't want to say this, but journalism kids somehow feel that we are not as tech savvy as the AV students. And our practicals included recording a P2C and editing it to look like a real P2C with all the figures, and then making a documentary and recording that, editing that. So we actually had, we were doing AV as well in our sense, but that's just general learning. In fact, I what Rishab has said, the journalistic lens, that's a hands-on learning experience because through SCMC Chronicle, instigated everything, we had to look around us and find news in everything. We found news in SCMC, we found news in Divan Nagar, we found news personally in my home cook, who was just cooking food for me every day, and we had dogs around. That was Rishab's documentary, and yeah, to say the least, I think it's just been the hands-on learning has actually helped us apply to places and given us the confidence that we can do whatever kind of work come what may, including our assignments that it required us to record a P2C. So we played with audio as well. Yeah, I think I pretty much summed up all the practicals that we have.
Yes, Somalika, thank you so much for that. Hannah, what were your some hands-on learning experience and opportunities which you received throughout the course?
Right. So for one of our final assignments was our documentary that we had to make. And this was a very interesting documentary that we made. It was about one of our apartments, our housing societies, one of their watchmen. And we were basically following him around and shadowing him throughout the day and interrupting him at every single turn. But it was a lot of fun. It was very, very educational, especially in the whole editing process and compilation and scripting and everything. And that is something I didn't really expect to do in journalism. So I'm very glad to have got that kind of professional experience.
Yes. Hannah, on the other hand, sorry to cut you, she has learned Hindi journalism. Throughout,
yeah.
we had to go and interview people for a photojournalism class. Since then, it's a journey of interviewing people in Hindi. And I must say, for the documentary, she had a beautiful hold on the language. Really appreciate that.
That is highly doubtful. But yes, it does force you to go out of your comfort zone. I agree. And a lot of the photojournalism assignments, we went out and to people, we actually did an assignment on covering window displays and looking at the marketing aspects of it, as well as a journalistic point of view from the people's perspective. So all in all, very, very interesting experience. And you got a lot of experience in writing, content, design, shooting, filming, scripting, theoretical conceptualization. So yeah, plenty of AV things to look forward to in journal as well.
That's really nice, Hannah. Rishab, you mentioned that you and Somalika both played a very major role in the SCMC Chronicle. Like, what does your say on that? Like, what were some of your hands-on learning opportunities?
I definitely did not claim to be a huge part of the Chronicle. If I even insinuate that, then Somalika is going to kill me. But no, the Chronicle was definitely arguably the biggest practical learning experience that journalism students had, because this was one huge series of college-wide magazines that were completely produced in-house. Everything from conceptualization to design was done by us. We didn't outsource any activities to anyone else. Editing, writing, designing, it was all done by us. And I was never expecting to, have to learn to use InDesign during my time in SCMC. Like I had never once even considered the idea that this was something that I would have to do, but it was a matter of necessity. And I think that's very important, because when you see the process of something like that happening from start to finish, the creation of a magazine or a newspaper or some kind of media, you gain a much better understanding of the process than you would otherwise, like if you were just part of one aspect of it, like if you were just writing for it, or if you were just editing for it. So I feel like, yes, the Chronicle was probably the biggest and most important experience. And otherwise, most of the other assignments in our final semester were definitely very hands-on. Throughout the 3 years of SCMC, our assignments were all very, I'll be honest, they were all very based in theory and, just write and submit. But in the final semester, that's when we really got, a lot of these practical assignments thrown at us. Photojournalism, as Hannah and Somalika mentioned, that was another thing where we were just, literally thrown into a public place and given a topic and given the task of making a photo story. So a lot of skills were developed out of necessity. And there was something else I wanted to mention. Hold on, I have it noted down somewhere. Yeah, of course, the internships. In my case, my internship with the Score magazine in my that was my second internship. I'm sorry, first industry internship. That was something that I found particularly helpful, because it was a music magazine, and as I said, I wanted to get into music journalism. So that was extremely beneficial for me. And I always recommend to juniors that it's good to intern or work with smaller organizations, because then you get direct mentorship from the people who are running it, and you get much closer guidance. And in my case, I got some really amazing opportunities as well. I was not just writing, I was not just getting my work published in the magazine. I also had a chance to interview people as well. I had a chance to interview one of my all-time idols, and that was an insane experience for me. So SCMC has facilitated internships like that, and I think those are not opportunities that everyone gets. So I was personally very lucky to have the opportunities that I did.
That's really nice. Yes, Somalika.
Vidhi, one more thing. Another practical of ours that actually helped us explore various topics were the magazines. So we had to write on particular topics, which could be health, science, and technology, environment, industry, and sports. And that each student was required to learn something about of that industry or that area and write something about it. So that also increased the boundaries of our knowledge or our interest as to where we want to write and what do we want to write about. I just remember that.
Thank you so much, Somalika, for that. Vijay, can you share some of your hands-on learning opportunities?
Yeah, I will just like to compliment what Rishab and Somalika said. Like our final semester in journalism was where we had our hands-on practicals, which actually shaped us going into the industry. Like SCMC Chronicle is one practical where we had to do everything from pitching stories to going and writing stories, editing it, designing it. So it was a complete process. So you understand the scope of an organization or publication, because a lot of stories got rejected because they did not meet the brief for what the SCMC Chronicle stands for. So when you're pitching your stories, you need it helps understand like what are the kind of stories you can do within an organization. So you build that sense within you. Like if you're working, you know what kind of stories will work, what won't. And as even for working on magazines, which Somalika pointed out, and working on SCMC Chronicle, the most I learned was when I was editing articles. So when you edit articles, when you're reading a post written by other people, you have to be considerate about what you might have considerate about what they have written. It might not be what you want to see in that post or something, or what you expect the article to be, but you have to respect what they have come up with it. And you can't just keep slashing words in article words and sentences because it does not fit your how do you say writing style, or how do you presentation style. So you have to adapt to that, and sometimes you'll have to go do it on the fly because you have articles coming in and you have to meet deadlines. So you have to just start editing on the spot and doing editing, checking grammar, checking that your the information is and sources are there, and it's not false information being presented in the article. And also having to meet the brief to keep it limited within the scope of the suppose there's an article says for 300 to 400 words, and the author has exceeded the limit, and you have to cut it down. But also while cutting it down, you have to ensure that what the author has written is not lost. It should not become the editor's version of it. It should stay the author's version of it. So while you're editing articles, you have to keep in mind that it is the author's vision that you present on paper. Despite what the cuts and changes you make, it has to remain the author's version of it. So that is a very important aspect when it comes to editing. And SCMC provides you with lots of opportunities for hands-on training. So like Hannah and Rishab mentioned about photojournalism. So like as we went around Phoenix Mall looking for our photo story and everything, we are also having these discussions about ethical conversations of privacy. Are we intruding into their space or not? So it was like you are intruding into their people's space because you're clicking pictures without their knowledge, but you have to get it done because that is the task. So it's like it presents you with different ideas. And as Rishab pointed out, that internships are a great place to gain hands-on experience, and SCMC provides with a lot of opportunities. So I interned with Center for Human Security Studies. It's a small organization. I got great mentorship from the director over there. I wrote a research paper on decoupling of quad economies from China. It was not an opportunity I would have got if I had interned at a big organization. So after I wrote that research paper, it was published in a book. So that is an opportunity you rarely get in other places. But SCMC provides you with these experiences where it provides you with self-confidence with these hands-on training experiences. So when you learn through them, you understand the skills that have been built over the years. Like when you do InDesign, you might not understand why is it being taught to us, but as you get into the core of journalism, you understand why you had this Photoshop and all these design tools taught to you, where to use it, and you get a much more better understanding. Like in the documentary which we did on the life of a security guard, we never thought we would be handling AV aspects in journalism, but it was completely new. So we had to figure out how to conceptualize shots and how to keep it within a required time frame. So journalism is not just about writing and presenting it. It's a whole lot of other things that go behind the screen, So you need to learn how to edit, how to present your story, and the biggest thing that helped me in the hands-on experience, that I improved to how to write. It improved my writing style a lot, and I can present stories in faster, concise manner.
Thank you so much, Vijay, for that. You mentioned about deadlines. Okay, so coming to that, I have this question: like, what was some of your favorite subjects or favorite assignments or projects?
Okay, the favorite one, I think, because we're talking about deadlines, I think it would be Sagar Kamat's assignment, which we had in first semester. So we had all his assignments were group projects. There's nothing individual about them. So we had to always collaborate and get it done. So one of the assignments was scheduled on the day we had our cultural fest for Dandiya night. So we had we did our part of the assignment and we had to compile it and edit it. So me and I guess me and Ahan did got the thing compiled, and we came and we had to receive one apart from one of our classmates. So we were like, we'll go, we'll have fun, we'll come back and just publish it. And that time it was not on MS Teams. We had this earlier version we had to submit by mail. And if you submit it before, after, you can't, like on Teams, you can submit it late, but you couldn't do that. Your assignment used to get rejected if you submitted it late. So we thought we were fine and we were in good hands. So after the event got over, we went to a tapri, had a dinner, came back. We thought it was just compiling it and sending it. So then we received one of the person who hadn't sent it, we received his at around 11:45. Then we realized his part is not meshing in with the entirety of the article which he had to send as an assignment. So we had to sit there, edit it, get it in and submit it within 15 minutes. And that's a huge challenging task because you have to maintain the flow of the article as well as maintain that his work gets recognized as his, as just we talked about the author's point of view. So that was a task, and we submitted it at 00:00 hours at the deadline, and somehow it went through, and we were really happy that it went through. That was one assignment, and other one, I guess, like would be our assignments in the final semester, because we had a lot of group assignments then. So we had these presentations. So it was nice working along with people and getting together and hustling around for group members, like whether this whether this group has an availability or that group has an availability, just calling people, say, and forming groups. That was fun actually, and we had a lot of fun presenting those case studies in our final semester.
Thank you so much for that. Hannah, was there any favorite subject or favorite assignment you would like to talk about?
Yes. Actually, my favorite subjects were in the first year, we had a professor named Ravi Vora, and he had this course on sociology. And it was where he opened our minds up to semiotics and the concept of real and not real. And it was, when I say a liberating class, I mean it. It was quite exhilarating. Others include digital humanities, language, culture, and communications. All of these kind of opened us up to ways of thinking more than subject matter itself, or more than assignments themselves. And that is something I hadn't been challenged with ever. I had never really learned to, been suggested to think another way. And in all of those classes, all of those assignments, you were asked to do that. And that was like the basic requisite. And that was super challenging, very, very interesting. They were really interesting classes.
I agree with Hannah. Like we had one assignment where we had to design a poster of impressionist paintings, I guess. So finding out artist, understanding their work and presenting it in your interpretation of it was quite a challenging task. And I enjoyed that assignment because I did it like on the last moment, like I had to go buy chart paper and everything on the last day of the deadline and finishing it within an hour, and somehow I managed to send it in. So like deadlines are fun with SCMC. Like you think that you have got everything in control, but as the deadline nears, you recognize that you need to do something more for it.
Yes. Somalika, I saw you smiling. Is there any favorite subject or favorite assignment you'd like to talk about?
I'm being honest. Fourth semester to sixth semester, I have liked and loved a lot of the subjects. It'd be a little partial because in fourth semester we had accountancy, and I also liked that subject. Others might not agree. And I think my favorite assignments have Sorry, everyone. My favorite assignments have been anything that have uh, helped me or made me read something different and reflect on myself. Hannah mentioned Ravi Vora. He had a in sociology. We had to review a print advertisement and what we interpreted from it, and that I remember when I started writing, I just had so much in me that I didn't even know, that wasn't even in my brain, and absolutely, in sixth semester, we have had a little bit more fun assignments in media law and ethics. We were able to present cases of sedition, and I personally felt like a lawyer presenting a case. And in television news programming, we came up with our own TV shows. So, and in fifth semester in development communication, we came up with our PSAs, like radio advertisements, and that was a learning experience. So I think these have been some of my highlights in terms of assignments and subjects.
Thank you so much, Somalika. I believe that
Adding on, just to add a bit, I think as we talked about last semester and group presentations, one of the assignments which I enjoyed the most was the one assigned to us by Sagar sir when we had to give a presentation on mergers and acquisitions happening around in the country. So that was a really interesting assignment because we got to learn much more about what's happening in the world of finance and industry, because normally we are limited to what is just happening on the stock market and what is happening with the GDP figures and the rupee dollar ratio. But when we dived into that assignment, we saw a whole new world of industry and finance that's around us and happening around us every day. So I really enjoyed that assignment where I had to present a case study on Tata acquiring Big Basket, and you realize how big companies keep their dominance in the market alive. So it was a completely nice assignment where we got to understand a completely different side of finance.
thank you so much. Uh, Rishab, do you have any like favorite subject you'd like to talk about?
Yes, I do. So, if you had to ask me for my all-time favorite subject, it would probably be feature writing, which was taught by a guest faculty called Ramesh Menon, and I really enjoyed that course. That was one of the few courses where I really felt like I could pay attention in an online medium, because we all know that concentrating in online classes is easier said than done. But this is one subject that I personally found very interesting because, and largely due to Ramesh sir's teaching methods, he was very personal. He used a lot of his personal experiences as a journalist, as a teaching aid and case studies for us to learn, certain things. And he taught it more like an art rather than, something theoretical. And his assignments were also very enjoyable because, yeah, I got to go wild with creative writing, and that's something that I obviously really enjoy. Aside from that, I would also mention the international relations course by Hamsini Hariharan, who's another guest faculty. Most of my favorite subjects are by guest faculty. Uh, no disrespect to our SCMC faculty, I love them as well, but still. So yeah, international relations by Hamsini Hariharan and Nivedita Jha's criminal justice and human rights course. Those were two things that dealt a lot with philosophy and social contract theory. And I'm a sucker for that kind of stuff. I'm very nerdy when it comes to, those kinds of fundamental social sciences. And I really enjoyed those subjects. I really enjoyed, writing the assignments as well. If you want to ask me about my favorite assignment that I did, it would definitely be the documentaries that we made in our final sem. My documentary was about animal welfare efforts in and around the area of Imanagar. Uh, and that was probably the most satisfying thing that I've ever produced, like the most satisfying product that I've ever, been a part of creating. Uh, yeah, again, coming back to what the others have also mentioned, we have had to involve a lot of AV aspects in our own learning as well. We've had to pick up a lot of the skills that most journalists you might not immediately associate with journalism. So for me, that was really fun though, working with people from the AV stream and working on this topic that I'm extremely passionate about as well. That was an extremely emotionally gratifying experience, and the final product was something that I felt pretty proud of. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't like an expert level production by any means, but I was still pretty proud of what my team and I managed to produce. So yeah, that's what I've particularly enjoyed.
That's really nice, Rishab. You guys mentioned about making documentaries, shooting, editing, and all that. Like, is there any green room experience that you'd like to share? Hannah, is there any green room experience that you'd like to share with us?
You're going to have to help me define what green room means, because considering how much we've moved around SCMC with just like all the stuff and all the equipment, everywhere is a green room at this point.
Okay, by green room, I mean the shooting floor.
Okay. We've actually, I think, individually gone different routes for our documentaries. But I remember the shooting floor pay, we had a lot of classes. And those classes were very, very interesting because I personally am not very tech savvy. I'm I'm really, really not tech savvy. And those floors kind of intimidated me a lot. But I think Sir was so helpful throughout our entire classes and all the times we've gone and like experimented and tried to shoot like, I remember we tried to shoot like a news promo, and then we tried to do a little bit of talking on camera, off camera. And I mean, in your 3 years of SCMC, you forget how to be on camera because you're so used to being off camera. So that was also such an interesting experience. And I think that news promo bit where me and Shanta were talking about sports, and he was so surprised that I knew anything about sports, was one of my favorite experiences. Yeah.
Really nice to hear, Hannah. Rishab, can we have your answer?
Unfortunately, I have not set foot in the shooting floor at all. Even the classes that took place, I was attending them online because I was here due to personal reasons. So I don't really have much to say about that. I have had zero green room experience.
Still, any fun experience that you'd like to share, like shooting the documentary or anything as such?
Yeah, sure. Okay, since you're putting me on the spot, I'll give you a interesting jugaad that we had to end up doing. I was a little late to when it came to getting sound equipment for my documentary, so I had to rent it out from a third party rather than getting it from the lab in college. So I had to rent it out from a vendor, and they ended up giving us the wrong kind of holder for the boom mic. So it was like too big, the mic wasn't fitting inside. So we had to secure it with masking tape. So every time we set up for a shoot, we'd just be like, we'd tell the subject, please just give us 5 minutes, and we would pull out this big roll of tape and look like, a sight to behold. I know it sounds sounds kind of dumb, but it's things like that you learn to improvise. Uh, you make do with what you have.
Yes, thank you, Rishab, for that. Vijay, can we have your answer to that?
Okay. I only had a single instance where I was in the green room, but I really loved that experience. So we were doing this live debate event. So it was basically on election day. So as the results were coming out, we simulated a newsroom experience where all SCMC students would take the role of news anchors, party spokespersons, political analysts, and students also became the research and graphics team and everything. So students, the entire thing was done by students. So we, on election day, as it was happening, we also did a bulletin of to a news bulletin declaring live results. So that was a completely fascinating experience because I always wanted to be in a news studio as election results were being declared, and I got that opportunity at college. So that was a really amazing experience for me, and being involved with it as a research and graphics team head, that was a really big responsibility because Kabir sir and Sagar sir gave that responsibility to me and I had to live up to it. So I designed the template for the graphic cards. So once it was approved, we took help of Jaideep sir to like present it more aesthetically. And I, with my team of Mimansha and Uzma, like we made the graphic templates for 25 candidates, because we were doing 5 states, because 5 states were declaring election results. We had to come up with 5 constituencies from each state, and we have to come up with a database of pictures for candidates who were from the main political parties for each seat, and have that stored. And while it was happening live, you don't have much time to like, so Mimansha and Uzma handled that the graphic card templates on the day of the event, and we were ably helped by Kabir sir, who was keeping a track of it. And I had the responsibility of displaying graphics on screen. So I had to be extremely vigilant and careful, because what graphic I presented on screen had to be in coherence with the discussion happening between the panelists and the anchor. So, and it had to go on at the right time and stay for the right duration of time and drop out. So that was a really big challenge that I had on that day. And it was a really fun experience. And putting out those results, I really felt of sitting in a newsroom and getting it out. And it didn't happen at the pace as which happens in newsroom, but it was a great exposure to what you can expect in that. So I really enjoyed that experience.
That must be really fun. Somalika, any green room experience that you'd like to share?
So one of my main green room experiences was absolutely the live election debate, which I think Vijay has summarized pretty nicely. Thanks to the faculty, they have given a lot of exposure to us in that lab. And I was also the photography head at Scmc. So I had a lot other assignments in the green room, which included clicking pictures of the cast for the play of Where Vidya, any other photo shoots pertaining to events such as IPS, Anukram. I have done that all there. And even any promo you see the green room, I have been involved in that somehow. I like the green room. It makes you feel, it gives you that media environment. It's perfectly equipped. And MM Sir is pretty helpful. He is just the loveliest human being I have ever met. He's so kind. He's willing to assist you with even switching on the lights, heavy equipment. And I think I really appreciate the faculty at Scmc for exposing us and giving the exposure of the living of the green room. Yeah.
Thank you, Somalika. You guys talked about like making documentaries, the internships, the various opportunities which SCMC provides. Like, can you describe an incident or experience where you finally felt like this is what journalists do and this is what journalism is in its real sense? Somalika, could you answer that? Where you felt?
I think it's the Chronicle. The Chronicle was the one thing that felt like, okay, this is what journalists do. We were always fishing out for stories. We were always under this constant pressure of finding stories. And we got out of college. Within college, we are trying to find some news around us. And I think that's what journalism felt like. And to be able to speak a lot of things, to be able to have an opinion, and to be able to want to motivate people and make people agree on that opinion. I think that's where you feel like I want to be a journalist. To make that change through words. Yes, I think I can sum that up.
Yes,
that's what journalism feels like.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Somalika. Hannah, was there any incident or experience that you can recall which made you realize the same?
Yeah, so I was actually, you're going to have to tell me what exactly, can you repeat that question for me?
Yes, surely. Can you describe an incident or experience where you finally felt that this is what journalists do and this is what journalism is?
Right. So one of the main things that we did was look at, I think this is something that Amitabh sir also told us, that there is a story everywhere. And we were actually taken to a bunch of painters who we interviewed for, who would do wall murals on the sides of the roads that you see. and we would interview them, of course, in my terrible, terrible Hindi. And we spoke to a lot of them, and it was a very eye-opening experience, not from a purely what do you call it, personal point of view, but a much more journalistic point of view. For one, something that I learned there was that journalists really have to think on their feet. And until you do a practical assignment like that, you're not really prepared. You hear it a lot. You're not really prepared to do it in person. So there was, in fact, a story everywhere. We spoke to a bunch of people, and even one person, I could think of 15 different tangents to go with that story. And that is when I realized that, oh, okay, this is creative in a completely different way than I'd imagined. It's not just writing. It's, how to structure, how to think on your feet, how to, adapt to situations. And that is when I realized that I truly enjoy being a journalism student. That's something that I truly treasure as like a concept, as a way of thought, as a way of life. So yeah, that would be it.
That's really nice, Hannah. Vijay, do you have any experience or incident to share with us?
Yeah, like I agree with Hannah, what Amitabh said, like stories are everywhere. And like working on the Chronicle was one of the most satisfying experience I ever had. So like my first story for the Chronicle came out from an email. So we got an email from the college stating that there was this conference going on, which was being handled by the Pune International Center. And one of the professors from SIU Lavle campus was hosting it. So it was hosting it and being a moderator on it. So because it had an symbiosis connection and stuff, I found my first story on an email sent through by the college. So like your stories are everywhere around you. So you just need to keep your eyes and ears open for your stories as journalism student or as a journalist. You always keep your eyes and ears open for stories. So, and I have two more experiences which I would like to share. So the other one is when I was interning with News or Chai Media. So I was a content writing intern. So we had this hashtag Justice with Saraswati that was trending on Twitter. So that was, and I dug in like what is the story and what was happening. So apart from one Tamil newspaper publishing it and one poster by the DMK party, there was not much of a conversation going on about it, and there was literally multiple versions happening, and you simultaneously you had this hashtag ban VCK, which is under party base of Tamil Nadu. So, and there was no report from the English media. So to publish it, I don't understand Tamil. I can't read Tamil. So I had to get it translated. So getting that article translated into English and into a readable version, that was a huge task for me. So because I got the both poster and the article translated, we got the angle of the SES act into the story, because the girl who hashtag Justice Saraswati was happening because she was raped and murdered. And the only thing was, that was the story that's being, but until we got it translated, it did not come to the angle of the misuse of the SC/ST Act angle of it, because the guy proposed her and she rejected it, and he started to threaten her with a case of SC/ST Act, Atrocity Act, and then she was killed later. So that angle didn't come up until it got the poster and the article were translated. So sometimes it takes much more tenacious. You have to be more tenacious sometimes to get your story right, but sometimes you find stories easily. And finding stories for our magazines was a tough job. Like we had to be precise, and our pitch had to be precise so that it was accepted by the professors, because it had to be very concise and to the point. They didn't want us going all over the place. So that was an incredible experience, actually.
Thank you so much, Vijay. Rishab, do you have any experience or incident to share with us? Very fun.
Yeah, I think everyone agrees that the Chronicle was probably the biggest inciting factor for us when it came to realizing that this is what journalism is. For me, it was the fact that the Chronicle made me think of everything as a potential story, if that makes sense. A lot of my proposals did get rejected. A lot of my proposals were accepted, but then in the end, I felt that they were not good stories. So I was in a position where every experience that I was going through in my day-to-day life, I was viewing it from an angle of, can this be a story? Can this be a story? And the interesting thing is most of these things can be stories. Like if you observe certain interesting things happening around you, if you talk to people and if you hear certain interesting things, anything can be woven into a story and anything can be interesting. There's nothing that's too trivial. There's nothing that's too fluffy to be a good story. Not every news story needs to be, something serious and a big newsworthy event. You can write stories about very simple things like momos, which is something that I did for the Chronicle. Like, believe it or not, like I realized one day that the entire road parallel to our, sorry, perpendicular to our college's road was just lined with stall after stall serving momos. And I realized that, you know what, this can be a story. Why not? So it's experiences like that that kind of gave me more of a journalistic attitude towards, I mean, uh, not just professionally, but in life in general. Like everything around you can be enigmatic. And it gave me an instinct to, do things that only a journalist would do. I'll give you an example. There was a concert happening in Phoenix Mall one day by a rock musician called Too Blue, and I only found out about that concert on the day it was happening. I had not even heard about the artist before that, and I found out about it on the day it was happening. My initial intent was to go and take pictures for the photojournalism assignment that we've mentioned a couple of times now. And I went there and I realized I was enjoying the show a lot. Obviously, being a fan of rock music, I was obviously going to enjoy the music. But then I realized that, wait, this can be a story because this is actually a really large scale performance that's happening here. And based on what I did learned from a quick Google search about the musician, he also had a very interesting story to tell. So I made a split-second decision to go backstage after the concert and talk to him. I took some pictures of him. I took some pictures with him, and I asked him a couple of questions, got some quotes from him. I did all of that on a whim that maybe this could be a story. Why not? Because I have nothing to lose from doing that. And the thing, I hadn't even gotten the story approved by Amitabh, so at that time I hadn't even pitched it to him, but I still made the decision to go and speak to him because I knew that this was something that could potentially be a very interesting read. And I think that's a very important thing for all journalists to have the capacity, like, to see the potential in everything that happens to you on a day-to-day basis as a news story. And it's moments like that that have given me that feeling that, okay, maybe I am, finally becoming a journalist. Maybe I am finally doing journalism. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Sorry, that was a very long answer.
No, it's fine. It was very rightly said. Um, you guys mentioned about photojournalism and all of that, but what were the key takeaways from your 3 years at SCMC? Hannah, what were your takeaways from SCMC?
Right. Oh, wow. There are plenty. But I would say my key takeaways are try to find balance between work and play in a sense. It's very easy, especially in a course like media, to just get lost in work and academics and extracurriculars and other things. But it's also equally important to find a very, very supportive group of friends, very caring people that you can just be around and say, share ideas with. And that's a large part about growing in SCMC because quite often you find it like an echo chamber and you need people maybe a little outside your circle to be able to say, different things. Me and Vijay have gotten into hour-long debates of very, very different ideas and ideologies and very different theoretical understandings. But in a lot of ways, he's helped me grow, and I hope I've done the same. My other key takeaway is really work hard, because you only have a very little time to do that. And I sound like a broken record, but that's the only way to kind of survive this industry. And honestly, if it's the work that you love, then it's worth it. It'll still feel like work. Don't let anyone lie to you. Work will always still feel like work, but it'll be work that you enjoy. And at the end of the day, there'll be a sense of satisfaction that I personally have experienced. And I hope that's the same for everyone else.
Thank you so much, Hannah. That was really insightful. Rishab, what were your key takeaways from SCMC?
So you mentioned 3 years, and anytime anyone says 3 years in SCMC, it stings a little bit, because for us it was more like 1.5 years, and for some of us even less than that, which is sad. But in the short amount of time that we did have, the fact that we had a short amount of time in the first place, I think it taught most of us to make the most of the present and not be so stressed about what's going to happen in the future, and don't wait for tomorrow to do something you want. Like, if you have an idea for something, if you want to do something for yourself, there's no better day than today, because tomorrow you might get shipped off to your hometown and be locked up in your room for 1.5 years. So yeah, that's one very huge takeaway. And otherwise, I would say I've learned to learn from everything and everyone, because when you're in an environment like SCMC, there is no shortage of opportunities for you to learn. Like, even from just, regular conversations with classmates, with faculty, there is so much you can do to expand your knowledge and broaden your horizons. And that's something that's very important for anyone, coming out of school into college, or college into a professional environment. Learning is just one thing that you can never stop doing. Like, there are conversations that can really enrich, your perspectives on the world. Like, many people have mentioned Vijay in this. I'm going to mention him again. The guy is a walking encyclopedia of general knowledge. And I have mad respect for him for that, even though we have a lot of disagreements ideologically. I really admire his general knowledge. And talking to him, even the smallest conversation, you will always end up picking up a fact here and there that you didn't know. And so it's experiences like that that really enrich you in an environment like SCMC. And otherwise, I would say, yeah, I think that's about it. Make the most of the present and never lose an opportunity to learn. Those are the biggest takeaways.
Thank you so much, Rishab, for that. Let's talk to the walking encyclopedia right now. Vijay, what's your takeaway from SCMC?
Like, SCMC has taught us to how to deal with pressure. Like, once you go through SCMC, I feel that you can handle the world outside, because SCMC is such a rigorous course. It teaches you how to balance your life. You need to take that time to take time out for yourself, and also keep working on the task you have at hand. So SCMC is a good teacher. I would say that it gives you exposure to all kinds of ideas, all kinds of opportunities. So it teaches you how to handle with pressure and deadlines. And also agree that being at SCMC is a learning experience, because so many people out there, talented people at SCMC. So everyone has their own ideas, own perspective on issues. So we might not agree on stuff, like Rishab and Hannah have spoken. Like, me and Hannah have, it's a rare occurrence when me and Hannah agree on something, but when we do discuss it, we don't know how long the discussion has gone, because we literally forget time when we are talking about issues. We can just sit down and just keep on going unless someone reminds us, okay, something else, like we are just lost in our conversation. So that happens at times. So, and with the journalism batch, it's like there's always something going on in class, and so you're always discussing something new. There's always something you can learn from each other. And always keep and don't let something like an ideology become a barrier in forming relations with people, because you're not your ideology, you're something more. because people are there to help you form bonds and be your support system, be your friends. You can help you out and help you out so that you have a good work-life balance. So don't cut out people on silly stuff and using silly reasons. Keep your connections open, talk to them. You learn something new. You might enrich yourself when you're talking to people who are not exactly like you, because otherwise you're living in an echo chamber, and being in echo chambers, you think that you feel much more than you feel that you're something much more than what you actually are. So sometimes it's always good to have a reality check by stepping out of your comfort zone, doing something else. And SEMC gives a lot of reality check to everyone.
Thank you so much for that, Vijay. Somalika, what were some of your key takeaways from your 3 years at SCMC?
I think everyone has spoken beautifully regarding cooperation, stepping out, work-life balance, which I learned throughout the final semester. But personally, I think it's about never doubting yourself, because I have really grown as a person over the last 3 years at SCMC, and to be able to almost terrorize my classmates on a daily basis on the group, that confidence came in 3 years, not close. I think to be empathetic to each and everyone's situation and what they're going through, to understand and get still make the most of it and help them. SCMC has given me that empathy. I think a little bit more into being open with me. I was quite reserved, and in SCMC I have been open and just welcoming, warmth. SCMC has just given me warmth. The atmosphere and all these people in this call, it's a lot to do with that. And plus balancing and coping with pressure and performing the best.
Thank you so much, Somalika, for that. Now that we've talked about academics, projects, assignments, coming to the campus, what's the one thing in the Vimannagar campus that every new student must experience at least once? What would you say to that, Somalika?
Aloo cheese paratha for the win.
Represent
absolutely
Aloo cheese
from the
gang.
canteen. You have to go to 3 places in the campus at least once in your life: Rangoli, the juice center, and the canteen. Even if you're a mess student, go to the canteen. But definitely have the aloo cheese. Definitely have the lemon limbu pani, and please get fudget from the Rangoli. Yeah, that's my experience.
I'm most definitely trying aloo cheese the next time I go to the campus. Hannah, what would you like to say about that?
I would say it's not particularly on campus, but a lot of SEMC people would say that it is, because Maushi's is an extension of our campus as a whole. So it is our campus, regardless of whether it's on the opposite side of the road. It doesn't matter. It's still our campus. Maushi's Vada Pav is the cheapest, best thing that you can get for a quick bite, for a substantial snack, as well as a full meal. And she's legitimately one of the nicest people that I know. And her vada pav never fails, especially when it decides to start raining in Pune continuously. This is the highlight of everyone's day. But yeah.
Thank you, Hannah, for that. Vijay, what would you say to that?
I think Hannah and Somalika summed it up pretty well. And I do agree that the Maushi's Vada Pav is the best thing you can have. Suppose you're late for class and you haven't had the breakfast, Maushi's is your place to stop. So it's like a fulfilling breakfast, filling snack, filling dinner, whatever you call it. And I think also there's a couple of other hangout spots, never miss out on an opportunity to play in the ground after class. It's that's a great place to be in after class, because you can unwind after a long day and get to just have some free fun time. And I think the other aspect is everyone should go to Farmaish at least once in a while.
All right, thank you so much, Vijay, for that. Rishab, what do you have to say?
Yeah, aloo cheese and vada pav are 2 of God's gifts to mankind. There is no sugarcoating that. It's just a undisputable fact. But other than that, I would mention that SCMC's cultural events are really something that people absolutely have to experience. The existence of cultural events completely invalidates the need for, opting for online classes. Why would you even consider doing that? Uh, so yes, Vaidya in particular, I guess when I talk about Vaidya, there is a certain degree of bias there because I was part of the OC for this year's Vaidya, and it's the biggest it's ever been. And I have no doubt that Vidhi, your batch is going to do an amazing job as well next year. And I really look forward to seeing what you guys do if I can see it at all. Yeah, Vaidya, I can't stop talking about it because it's a phenomenon. It's a massive cultural phenomenon that everyone in campus looks forward to, and it's intensely competitive. It's a showcase of some of the most amazing talent you will see in your peer group. And I'd like to think that it's one of those things that brings people together despite being so competitive. Like students across every batch, every specialization are all in that same auditorium, uh, and they have the same wowed expression on their face. Uh, yeah, so being part of Vaidya for me was a very fulfilling experience, and I'd like to think that everyone in the audience as well feels the same way. And yeah, everyone should have that experience because there's nothing like it.
Thank you so much, Rishab. Coming to the last question, like as alumni, what tips would you give to your juniors, to your super juniors, or even to the aspirants who would soon start their SCMC journey this year? Hannah, could you answer that first?
Yes, I have a long list of tips. Okay. So my first tip would actually be to not get overwhelmed. That's point one with like SCMC, because it's a brilliant college and there are a lot of brilliant people doing brilliant things all the time. So it's very easy to get carried away and, burn yourself out on a personal note. But my main advice would be to do things at your own pace, and then you'll slowly pick it up and you'll be great. My second is mainly to not, again, get insecure about other people working and focus on your things that you're most interested in. And the only way you'll be able to find that is if you try everything. So that means if you don't know how to pick up a camera, you pick up a camera. So that's those are like my main 2 points. And my third is to definitely make a lot of friends, because you're going to meet very different people. And when I say they become your family, they become your family. And I know that's something that a lot of people say, but it's very, very true. And these are friends, because it's a 3-year period. These are friends that you're going to have for a very long time.
So, yeah. Thank you so much, Hannah. Somalika, what do you want to say to that?
I thank Hannah. Whenever you and I came to SCMC, but I think I wanted to say a similar thing, that don't get worried or think that others know better or more than you. You know what you are, and you know why you came to this college, so you have your right information. It will take time. Do absolutely try putting yourself out there. Don't be nervous. And if you struggle to understand what's going around you, if you struggle to understand the people around you, just take some time. Maybe if you are struggling to understand things around you, maybe you should go and explore rather than being locked up in a room. I think I'm just talking to myself, but that's it. Like explore Pune, explore SCMC, explore yourself. You'll learn so many things about you in college in general that you never thought you are. Yeah.
Thank you, Somalika. Vijay, you have to share something with us related to that.
Yeah, so at SCMC, it's like as they said, it's pretty easy to lose yourself because you might be intimidated with all the people around you who are doing great work. But sometimes it's like take a break, have a breath, go out, meet people, because it took a while for me to get comfortable at college. But after I got comfortable, it was an amazing ride. And as this is a talk for journalism students and stuff, I would like to repeat what our professor Amitabh Dasgupta always keeps harping on. Please read the newspapers, because that is where you get nuance. Instagram and Twitter are not places to gather news properly. Please read the newspaper. And the thing is, like, yeah, go out, make friends, because your friends are going to help you out when you're stuck in when you are in a tough situation at SCMC. Just a shoulder or something to just rant or vent out your frustration. Have a good support system in college. And I also a little bit I'll also get a little bit technical over here, because like as I've been applying jobs in the recently, so a few skills that I think even all journalists should have, apart from just writing and basic editing skills. I think people should, if anyone's going into journalism, I think they should have a basic understanding of AV side, that is how to edit a video, how to how to make a how to use Photoshop, etc., so that they get the graphics right. So get the graphics. Then they should also have at least one coding language. Like when we were students, we had the subject data journalism, and we were taught coding in R, because like what I'm seeing out there, because everything is getting digitized, I think, and data is the biggest thing that is going to happen in the future, and digitization is based on data. So I think at least one coding language is a must, and Excel skills are a must. So develop your Excel and coding skills also while you're doing junior journalism.
Thank you so much, Vijay, for that. Rishab, what tips would you give to the juniors?
Right. So I would also like to talk about some technical things. I'll add on to what Vijay said. Digital well-being is probably one of the most important things that you should practice, not just as a journalism student, but I mean, as a college student or working professional in general. Because over the last couple of years, the prevalence of technology in our professional lives has increased a lot, not just professional, personal lives as well, obviously. And this was something that I had to learn through experience, and I had to learn through a lot of failures and problems as well. I think most of the people who will be watching this are in a better position to handle that, because they've already kind of grown used to the whole work from home scenario. So, but I'll still mention these things because there are a lot of things you can do to increase your productivity when you're working on your phone or on your laptop. There are a lot of, for lack of a better term, life hacks that you can use, and you should be using them, because otherwise your life can get very hard. Like even if it's something as simple as switching on dark mode on your browser so that your eyes don't hurt and you don't have a headache at the end of the day. There are extensions that can help, browser extensions that can help you bypass paywalls. There are websites where you can get scientific, like scholarly articles for free. And these things really help students out. And a lot of the times I've noticed, like before I discovered these tips and tricks, I was in a whole world of frustration, because these little things can just lead to a lot of angst and irritation, and that's not good for anyone. So digital well-being is very important. You have to optimize your technology, and make sure you have, I'm not saying you have to spend money and buy all the latest and most expensive gadgets. That's obviously not true. You can make the most of whatever budget you have. I myself have a very potato laptop right now, but I like to think that I make the most of it by employing certain practices that improve my productivity and my quality of life by a lot. So it might seem like a small thing, but trust me, it makes a world of a difference when you're working on screens for a long time, every single day. It increases your productivity a lot, and you will find that you are enjoying your work a lot more. Things feel a lot more effortless. And other than that, I'll bring that to mental health, because that's a very important thing for any student. The pandemic, again, has been hard on a lot of us. And it's very important that when you're getting thrust into a new environment like college, you need to take care of your mental health. It's very, as Hannah said, it's very easy to get burnt out and feel, overwhelmed by things that happen to you. So taking care of your mental health is something that we often overlook because we just get lost in our work and get lost in, building a social support system. So it's important to take some time for yourself, do what needs to be done. And otherwise, yeah, I think I have covered the other tips that I had in previous questions. Make the most of the present was one. There is news everywhere. Everywhere has a story. Everything has stories to be told. And yeah, most importantly, have fun, because sometimes you need to learn to have fun with what you're doing. Not everything is going to be enjoyable from the get-go. You need to, I know it sounds kind of counterintuitive, but learning to have fun is definitely a thing. Yeah, I think I've rambled on for long enough. That's it from me.
Thank you so much, Rishab. And thank you so much, everyone. We've had an hour-long conversation, but unfortunately, we'll have to end it here. A very big thank you to all of you for sparing out your time and coming and talking to us and sharing your experience and making us realize like what studying at SCMC looks like. On a personal level, I had a very insightful and enriching experience talking to you all. So thank you so much. Thank you, Somalika, Hannah, Vijay, Rishab. Thank you to the audience for joining in and listening to us. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us on our Instagram handle or on Facebook. And like our head of department for journalism says, like there's a story everywhere. We hope that the aspirants choose SCMC, be it for any specialization, and find their story. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having us, Vidhi. Thank you, Shruti. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
It was
guys.
really, really fun.
Thank you, guys.
This was great.
It feels nice.
It's also really nice. Yeah, exactly. I was just going to say that, seeing my classmates, hearing your voices again. Oof.
A tad bit emotional also.
Very emotional, let's be honest.
But yeah, thank you.